Hello and happy Sunday. We are getting so close to Christmas. I can't believe how fast the time is just flying by. I hope that today finds you happy and healthy and that you're able to find some little bits of joy in this holiday season, even though it is so different than every other, Christmas that we've ever had before. But to get into things, yesterday I kind of had an interesting moment. So we finally had a break in the weather, and I was able to sneak away to go and put a couple horses in the trailer and head off to the arena. And it was just really interesting because what was going on at the arena was basically like a barrel practice. There was going to be other people there, and in my head I was like, this is going to be good for Ace. He really needs to get used to riding with other horses and all this kind of stuff. But as soon as my husband kind of was like, hey, I think you can sneak away, I can watch the kids, you can go, I'll do this, my mind immediately tried to sabotage my plan. So I know I need to go ride, and I want to go ride. It's not that I didn't want to go ride, but I think my nerves were really taking over a little bit here, which was new to me because I haven't had my nerves really take over like that in a very, very long time. I don't know, like maybe you guys can relate to this, maybe you can't at all, but in that moment where it was like, okay, yeah, we can make this work, you can go ride, I've got some trucks coming, but my husband's like, me and my dad can handle it, we'll watch the kids, you go and ride the horses. And so immediately I'm thinking of all these excuses. I got a headache all of a sudden, and then I'm not feeling very well, so I'm like, okay, I'm not feeling very good. If we're not feeling good, we're not supposed to show up, of course, right, with all the COVID stuff. And then I'm like, well, if there's trucks coming up, maybe it's better if I try to go tomorrow when you're not so busy and you're not, and I feel bad leaving you here to look after the grain trucks coming and the kids and all this other stuff. And it was just excuse after excuse after excuse in my mind about why I shouldn't go. Even though I wanted to go, it was really, really weird. I was looking for basically, sorry, I got something in my eye. It was like my brain knew that this was going to be a new challenge for us, because as much as Ace has come along and as much as he has improved, I still have not ridden him very much at all with other horses. And I know that that is something that is stressful for him. And so in essence, I think I took some time to really sit with myself. I'm like, okay, why am I trying to talk myself out of this? Why is my body kind of shutting down? Why am I getting this headache? Because I felt fine up until yeah, we can make this work and you can go. And then all of a sudden, bam, I have a headache all of a sudden, and my stomach is starting to get a little upset. And I'm thinking of all these excuses of why I shouldn't go to the arena. And it's just kind of like, luckily I was able to catch myself, and I'm like, okay, I'm getting a headache. My stomach is starting to get a little bit upset. Obviously, I have a little bit more anxiety based around all of this than I thought. And so I really tried to slow down. I actually came into my room when I had a moment. Brad came back in the house and was watching the kids. And I took some time to really meditate and to be like, okay, what is going on here? Like, why don't I want to ride? Because that's the biggest thing, right? Because I could maybe just know just the basics of, obviously I'm a little nervous. Whatever, let's just push through it. But I really wanted to take the time to sit there and be like, why am I nervous? To really get to the root of it. Because until I get to the root of it, what can I do to address it? And as I kind of sat there quietly, I turned on some meditation music from YouTube, to something relaxing to kind of drown out the noise of my children. I was really able to realize that a lot of it was just feeling that peer pressure of riding with fellow barrel racers. And don't get me wrong, I know a lot of amazing barrel racers, and they are amazing women, and they're not all judgmental in whatever. But just like any horse discipline, there's always going to be the haters. There's always going to be the people that judge you. There's always going to be the people that want to make you feel like you don't know anything. But then there's always the good people too. And so I realized, because I haven't gone barrel racing in well over a year, because my barrel horse got sick and then he passed on, and Ace is too young for it. And so I'm like, this is because I haven't seen these girls in forever, and I was worried about them judging me. I was worried about my horse freaking out. I was worrying about, well, what happens if I can't handle it? Or what happens if everybody starts throwing around all these opinions at me? And all of this other stuff. And then, of course, the real core of the issue was, what if my horse acts up and I don't know what to do in that moment and I look like a fool? And so I really took time to sit with that and to try to figure out what I was feeling and why I was feeling it. And once I was able to recognize that it was that fear of being judged or fear of not knowing what to do in the moment, I was able to be like, you know what, that's okay. I don't have to know exactly what to do in that moment. There are, like, riders all the time come up against obstacles with their horse, and they're kind of like, I don't really know exactly what to do here. I'm just going to do my best. And so I was able to kind of turn it around a little bit in my brain. I started feeling better again. My headache went away. My stomach settled down. And I went out there and caught the horses and went riding. And it really reminded me of how much I had to deal with that. And it still comes up, of course, where I get the opportunity to ride, and that is always what I want to do, but how often my brain sabotages me in what I want to do based off of fear. Now, of course, that can change depending on what the circumstances is. Is it fear of being judged? Is it fear of my horse freaking out and not knowing what to do? Is it guilt that, oh, I should be with my kids? Is it guilt that, oh, my husband is now sacrificing his time so that I can go ride? Is it guilt that I am asking my mother-in-law to take time out of her day to come watch my kids so that I can ride, right? And so that's just something that I find is really, really important, and I encourage you to do if you ever find yourself in a situation. And again, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is something that is that I just kind of deal with. But instead of just kind of realizing that I could ride, but I'm not, and either not riding, or I could ride, and realizing that you're kind of just talking yourself out of it and forcing yourself, is to take those few minutes and really figure out why. Because until you start understanding the why, the emotion that's kind of holding you back, you're not going to be able to push forward to it. So then I can actually start then creating these decrees, manifesting during my time when I go out to catch my horse, as I drive to the arena. I can start using manifesting and words and language and thoughts to start reversing that thought pattern and changing it. And so I can, for fear of being judged, I can be like, I'm confident in my abilities. For, fear of maybe Ace acting out and not knowing what to do, or being intimidated if he gets really, crazy rambunctious, I trust our partnership. And finding that affirmation that's going to reverse that emotion that is holding me back. So until I actually pinpoint that emotion, so that fear of failure, fear of being out of control, fear of judgment, until I can find that thing, that actual thing, then I can turn it around and actually make an affirmation to start retraining my brain and refocusing my brain so that it's not holding on to me. Because if I don't release it, if I don't release that fear of judgment, that fear of losing control, then it's going to be forever, weighing me down during my ride. And so even if I pushed through it, if I ignored, if I didn't care about what emotion was holding me back, if I didn't care about any of that stuff, and I just pushed through it, because I think many of us do, many of us are can attest to the feeling nervous or anxious or whatever, but you push through it and you go ride anyway, all of that baggage is going to be on your back, and you're going to have it weighing you down during your entire ride, and it's just going to taint everything. So that's why I just think it's super cool how quickly it works and how helpful it is to take those few moments, figure out the emotion, and then find the reverse side of it to really help push you through it and release that negativity, that fear that is kind of sabotaging. And so just a couple extra little hints, or not hints, tips, I guess, to help you when you're trying to turn it around. Make sure you're always speaking in the present, and you're speaking in the positive, and you're speaking as a fact. So don't go, I want to trust my horse, or I don't want to be intimidated. You want to talk in the positive, in the present, and as a fact. So I trust my horse. So that's all positive. It's in the present tense, and it is a fact. I trust. I trust. It's not I want to trust or I will trust, because your brain actually doesn't know the difference between fact or fiction. It really doesn't. It just depends on how you say it. And so that's the amazing thing. So if you talk about things as if they are a fact, your brain will believe it. And the more often you say it, the deeper it gets hammered into your brain as an actual fact. That's why when you really find yourself getting stuck in a negative cycle, that everything around you, your whole life, seems to become dark and dingy and depressing, and you get lethargic, is because your brain actually starts believing all those negative things rolling around in your head. Because what you feed your brain is what your brain is going to believe. And so that's why it's so important to turn it around and turn it into a positive, turn it into something to retrain your brain. So again, you want it to be positive, present tense, and as a fact. And you're going to know it's the right phrase for you when it makes you feel something, right? So perhaps I trust our partnership doesn't, you say it out loud and you don't feel a thing. So then you're going to want to tweak it. You're going to want to find a different word. Maybe it's I trust Ace. I allow myself to be vulnerable. I listen to my horse. I do what is best for my horse. Whatever, right? You got to find something that sings true to your heart and use that, because if it doesn't invoke any type of feeling, any type of emotion, it doesn't pull on your heartstrings just a little bit or make you feel excited or happy, then your brain is just going to be bored of it and it's just going to push it to the side. So I just really want to encourage you to just take those moments when you find yourself kind of sabotaging yourself, because I don't know about you, but I tend to do that quite a lot.